Hello, everyone, and welcome to Out of Combat, our after show for our D&D campaign. I am joined with Mac and Cheese, please, who plays Taj, and Moves Like Jagger from the GG crew, who plays Azric. Maybe.
What does that even mean?
If I'm still alive when they get back, I don't know.
You're alive, shush.
A lot went down today on episode 21.
Yeah. It was pretty Azric heavy from the knowing of the people and the things, and what really went down, TLDR in were we in a citadel? Is that a church? Where were we?
Yeah. So that citadel area towards the end is basically home base for all of the watch. And I'm pulling up my notes here just so I don't.
Is the watch Azric's the church that he denied and didn't want to be a part of?
So you've got this structure of people who follow the Lotus King, right? And you have the Order of the Lotus Robes, who are the people that took care of Azric when he was a kid. And they're the ones that you went to at the end in the cathedral. They're monks, think of them like a monastery, and they take care of the church and all that. And then you've got the Elysian Watch, who are these paladins and clerics and the other side of it. Yeah, kind of that thing. They're more of the might of the Lotus King, I guess you could say, and they have their own specific things that they deal with.
Okay. And so I guess moves for Azric's character, how did he even feel being in there and going and talking to those people?
When we first arrived, Azric didn't like it a lot. He itchy, doesn't want to be here. This is the people he hates. And it's weird. The more time we spend on Escos, the more he sees it differently. He has too much of that childhood trauma where he has the blinders on and just stubborn. And it's no, people did nothing for me. I don't want to be here. And they're just seeing how things are and reunited with his foster mom and seeing his foster brother. And then just even probably the main person Azric despises the most, which is the High Warden, the Dawn. Even has a pretentious name to Azric. He's his name's the Dawn. He's the light coming up from the sky. What an asshole! What a prick! And,
I thought it was a play on the Dawn, DON, the Godfather moment.
No.
Both. No.
Yeah. So the some insight in the Dawn and kind of what goes into that is, you all know the Lotus King has every D&D deity has these tenets, right? Because there's clerics of every certain kind. And for the Lotus King, it's peace and twilight are his two domains, right? So when you think of twilight, most people think in the evening between the sun sets and that kind of golden hour type scenario. But technically, right when the sun is rising, and also twilight, same effect. So that's kind of why he has that name, is kind of the sun rising over the darkness type scenario.
Okay.
Super nerdy.
Yeah. Look at you building. So, okay.
Wow.
Wow, Max, a lot of things had to come into play for tonight to kind of set us up. How did you on the back end weave it all together?
I mean, shit, you're telling me, right? I mean, be me last week. You essentially lose an entire party member, and how do we deal with that? Do I just tell VS, sorry, you can't play until they fix you? Sorry, bro. Which doesn't feel good. But then, like, you know, the spell needed to like heal him, like, isn't a low level spell, right? And kind of in my head, the way that I talk about it is like most people in the world like don't have class levels at all. They're just people, right? And then a subset of the people have class levels. And the higher level you go, the less people there are that level, right? So, you know, it's going to be more increasingly rare. So I didn't want the healing for him to be just like a gimme, right? Because then all the impact of what happened like doesn't matter anymore. So I wanted there to be weight behind it. And then I started to kind of think about and figure out, like, you know, and talk to you all like, okay, well, where do you think you're going to go? Like, you have some options of like, you know, how are you going to try and heal Hayden? And once I got the indication that you were going to stick with Esco since you were already there, I was like, okay, I have some ideas. And then just ran with them from there. And there's some other neat stuff that's being woven in that y'all don't even know yet. So fun times.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I'll just throw that out there.
We have the Order of the Conservancy kind of going behind the city's state back and stealing some stuff, and it could be pre-catastrophe artifacts and relics, which is probably insanely powerful, or who knows. Kind of safeguarding and gatekeeping all the knowledge and shit, and not sharing it with anybody. So these guys are jerks.
Yeah.
Dang. So, okay, I have another question for you, Max. I'm sorry, I'm like spitting all these questions at you. When VS got his character like frozen as Hayden, how do you like did you think that was going to happen, where we would have like a stone guy on our hands, or did you think that like, oh, the party will pull through, or did you kind of know at least someone was going to get hit?
So it's one of those things as a DM of like, if you throw an enemy that can have a possibility that's happening, you've got to at least think of it might happen, right?
Sure.
You know, it would have taken some pretty unlucky rolls for it to happen, which did happen to VS. And that's the bad thing with the Basilisk, because once you fail the first one, you have to roll the second one regardless. And it was just two unlucky rolls. So I had the thought of like, this might happen, you know, and then I'll have to deal with it when it does, kind of thing.
What would you have done if all of us turned to stone?
I mean, that would have
ended the campaign, or would something like crazy would have happened?
I have ideas and like general thoughts of like what to do if something like catastrophic like that would happen, but I'm going to leave them in my back pocket. I'm not going to mention them.
I'm trying to remember that night, but I think I was on my second roll. And Moobs, were you on your second roll too?
No, Azric has a really good con save, so he was doing good. And then using the Hunger of Hadar to make them blind, so we couldn't even see them.
That was great.
We only had to fight one or two at once. I think that helped a lot.
Yeah, that was an OP move.
Hayden was just unfortunate to fail his first roll and then failed the second one.
And that's kind of why I threw to Nina that whole thing, like, hey, if it's your turn, you can do this. Because I've mentioned it like briefly before, but in like certain situations, it's almost kind of worth like using your turn to just like learn about a monster and what it can do. Because once you all had the knowledge about that, then you knew how to deal with them. And then that also rewards players that are like high intelligence that put points in those intelligence skills. So that's something cool. That's why I kind of threw that out there. Hey, you can do this if you want. So
I always
think
forget that that's even an option. So like as a player, I appreciate that.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure. I want to know, I guess, as a player and as Taj as a character, like how does Taj feel all of this about all of this stuff going down? Because she seems like cool as a cucumber, like on the surface, but like pretty much her best friend is just like gone through some shit, and then like her, like, you know, Hayden, her other party members, like gone through some shit. Like,
Yeah, so Taj really truly believes that like the powers that be like have a plan for you. And like
Mhm.
that was their plan and it will all work out. Like she comes off as like kind of negative and she doesn't like people, but that's
Mhm.
not true at all. Like she likes everybody, but she just can't stand people who are stupid, you know? So like in her mind, that's I mean, for right now, I have plans. I want them to be besties at the end, but
Mhm.
um, I I think that for her, like this is just the plan right now, and it will be better. And like this doesn't mean that our friends are going to die or are sick
Mhm.
forever. You know, it's just like okay, like this is what we're doing right now. You know.
Yeah. That's really deep and complex too, because when you're saying like the powers that be, right? Like there's gods, that are in the world in D&D that are like proven to exist. And then you have Taj who kind of, says like, "Hey, powers that be, take the wheel. You got this," kind of thing,
Mhm.
which kind of almost contradicts like her life as an arcane caster, because the people that supposedly follow these deities like don't want anything to do with you, right? And think you're dangerous.
Yeah. So for her, it's not like so I'm like playing her as like a mystic, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
so she believes in like fortune telling
Mm-hmm.
and that like there's a greater like you're on your path and like you have like
Yeah.
you have a destiny, you know,
It's like
and you're there to
fate.
yeah, yeah, and you're there to fulfill your destiny and this is just part of your journey, you know, to get where you
Mm-hmm.
need to be. And so like every trial has a lesson in there. And like I have a feeling of what's going like as a player, I feel like what's happening is like um Moobs technically like in this agreement went against his current god, you know, or church that
Mm-hmm.
he's like currently going through. So like he made a choice to help someone else that he didn't want to like help at his heart, you know? And so his
Mm-hmm.
gods are upset and are taking away his powers is like how I kind of like interpreted what's going on. And that's just kind of part of it. Like Azric made a choice and this is the consequence of that choice.
Where do
Whether that's
you
actually what's happening, I don't know.
Yeah. Over to Moobs, like a good segue, like because Azric like made a choice to actively work with, the Elysium Watch, the Lotus King by proxy kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um as a player, did you think there would be consequences? Did you think they would be severe, or what were your thoughts around that?
It's interesting because I've never like this is like my real first time playing a warlock,
Mm-hmm.
and then credit to you, Max, the first time where where a, a warlock can actually interact with either a deity or a patron. So um I I knew there were my axes would result in consequences and possibly be negative or positive. Um
Mm-hmm.
I I didn't know just like yeah, I'm going to work with these guys because ultimately I hate the order of the conservatory and this is a way for
Mm-hmm.
me to kind of fight back, but I didn't think that was going to strip me away from all of my powers.
Yeah.
Uh and then kind of become chronically ill again and basically just not really can't really do much anymore.
Yeah.
So you
Patron's
didn't
not
know this was
happy.
gonna so
Oh,
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna say moves, you didn't know that this was gonna happen? Like I had a feeling that like something was gonna happen, but to this extent you didn't know.
I knew something was going to happen that would have to take me out of the game because I'm going to be gone for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I I in my back of my mind I knew something was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to be have this much gravity
Yeah, it's a lot of gravity. It's a big
where
deal.
I'm essentially I'm not I'm useless. I'm not an adventurer anymore. I'm just bedridden, and now I had to rely on my friends to save Hayden, which is something Azric can't do with his physical self anymore. And so he's trying to like, hoping that the crew keeps it together, because like this is like a huge morale hit, right? Hayden's turned to stone. Azric is now sick again and bedridden, and it's up to the rest of the party, which is like the like the chaotic three.
We are the chaotic ones.
The chaotic ones, and now they're teaming up with this Watcher paladin guy who's like super stern, is by the book, with these three chaotic people. How is that all going to work together and successfully do this job while keep it under wraps? Because if the conservatory knows the involvement of the Elysium Watch, then that's big. That's bad news for Esco.
The Divine Order of Conservancy and the Elysian Watch are not BFFs. That's for sure. I will remind you this, Moobs, way back before the campaign even started, when we were going to the gym pretty regular, we were talking about characters and you talked about Warlock. And I was like, okay, cool. I was like, how much interactivity and how much Warlock stuff do you want? And you were like, I want all the Warlock stuff. And I said, okay.
Yeah, I said, let's get
That's
weird.
where it came from. Oh my God, I love that.
Months ago.
Yeah, I said, I agreed. I was like, let's get weird. And
Now we're getting weird.
there was like little droplets that Max would have in the story, like where I would wake up and I would be coughing up water, or that one time that I was rolling death saves and then Max was like, "Oh, you're good. Something happened." So everyone's like, "What?" And then now this whole story of the world being consumed by water, the ocean,
all kinds of mysteries that you all don't even know about what's happening yet.
I will say I'm really nervous for what's about to happen because, so in the pre-show before we went live, everyone was like, all right, like be prepared for like some hefty rolls. There's going to be some convincing happening. And then like right when we went on for show, it was like, all right, it's the next morning. So as I'm choosing my spells, I gave up like almost all of my attack spells for stuff that could be used for persuasion. So I'm like pure, like if we go into a fight when we come back, I'm all utility. Like I gave up almost everything. So I'm like, fuck. I hope we get to sleep beforehand.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen next. You're going to have to try and track some people down. So I don't know if you're going to get into a fight immediately because you got to find people first.
You got beefy boy Ford now, the little half orc barbarian.
Hopefully he's a high level, because if we're technically down a player,
what a roller coaster.
Yeah.
I loved how VS is playing core. So perfect.
Oh my gosh, so fun. It's so fun.
Like when he was like told you like to stop talking,
Yes,
I was just like, oh my god. Whoa. Like
yes.
This bitch.
Yeah.
And I extended my hand very much so, expecting him to be like, no, like I'm too good for that. But the fact that he did it, I was like, okay, gentlemen, like,
yeah, super cool.
Do I have a crush on him? Maybe. Like, no, I thought the way that he's playing him is so fun. Because VS is a new player, and so he doesn't take his characters like a new player. I wouldn't have thought that.
I don't think we're allowed to call him that anymore.
That's true. We're 3 years in. We're 3 years deep.
Yeah. He's not new anymore. He's a seasoned veteran.
Yeah. The one thing I love about VS is that he really like dives deep into his characters.
Oh yeah.
He is his characters, and he knows exactly how they act and what they're going to say and what they're going to do in certain situations. Yes, that's what I love about VS. He's just such a great role player. He's really good.
And I'll say, I don't think Bun expected me to ask her to do it, but I wanted to see the scene, even though no one was there, of just Emmy like talking to Stone Hayden, because she wasn't at the game last time. Like I was like, what does she say? Because we didn't get to like feel her like reactions in the moment. So I thought that was cool. Like her kind of Emmy like rambling on, like talking at him like you can hear him. Like it's, I don't know, it was really sad.
Yeah. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I have a question for Mac, because this is probably the most affectionate Azric and Taj have been together, but only because of Azric losing his powers and becoming sick. What was running through Taj's mind where you turn around and Azric's on his knees and his eyes are pale, and then like Hooter running to Azric first? But what was happening with Taj?
I think like Taj has known that something has been up with Azric for a while now, you know, because there's been a couple times where like she's kind of known, and then like they're passed together. And so I think for her, it was like, okay, something's happening for real right now. Like this isn't a dream anymore. Like this is happening. And so like for her, it was like, this is go time. But I think she also knew that like you made your bed, you have to lie in it, you know? So yeah.
A harsh friend.
Yeah.
Tough
well,
love.
I guess for her, it's like this is your choice. Like everyone every day gets a million choices that they have to make, and every single choice has a consequence, as small as it could be, you know? And so this is what the consequences of your choices and your actions of that day. So,
Yeah.
but I think she's here for you, and like it like is with you, you know, like we exchanged our like necklaces. So it's like I'm with you, you're with me. Like it's fine.
Yeah. And then hopefully we'll see what happens with Azric and Hayden. Group's kind of broken a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a wild group now. Who knows?
But with that, let's see what happens next time. And if you are watching this when it goes live, Friday, November 17th, 6 p.m. Pacific, go to twitch.tv/obsidian and go watch our super special one shot for their Extra Life charity event that they have going on. Come hang out with us, donate some money to help the Orange County Children's Hospital, and come watch us do silly things and make us do silly things with your money. But
yeah,
anyway, have a fantastic evening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.